Hello and welcome. Welcome to another Odin stream. Today is a question mark stream for numerous reasons. Because I'm just got some background music as people listening. Hopefully it's enjoyable to listen to as I play when we're talking about stuff. Oh yeah. So I've had a very busy today anyway, so I've been working all day and then I've been doing other things as well, and then I've also been doing brewing, so I've been brewing some beer. I've been doing a pale ale. I've also tried some other beers that I've done, so I've done a Californian common beer, and that Californian common beer turned out very, very well. So I'm going to turn this down ever so slightly. So it turned I was trying to pretty much make a clone of the Anchor Steam beer, which is my idea, and it turned out pretty close, but it turned out it was not bad. It's pretty much just a high temperature Pilsner at the end of the day, nothing special, with a special like particular Californian stream. Yes, there is music today. Can you hear it? It's just, again, different. What's it going to be down to today? We don't know. We could be talking about some random stuff. But you can see the beautiful Odin logo at the start, so we could talk about... Can you not hear the music? Is that not coming through? No? No background music you can't hear? Debug info. Screw it, I'm not doing debug info. Look, the reason why is, I'll even show you why I can't do debug info. Just, let's do a little transition to the... It's a bit too big. I'll show you why, just for the time being. I won't do this much tonight, because I am a bit tired. I've literally had a very long day. But for the most part, I'll explain the problems with the debug info. So, my idea, at least with the debug info, is to... Well, the best way of putting it is, I just want to say, hey, here are the define a scope, here are the variables in this scope with this type, and that's it. You'd think that was simple, right? It isn't. And that sounds like, what do you mean? Right, let's go through the LLVM interface and see what happens for this. So we got, okay, debug meta version, okay, that's fine. We can get the debug metadata version for the module, no problem. Yep, you can create a builder, whatever, create the builder here, yeah. Dispose of it, finalize the builder, sure, whatever. Create a compute unit, yep, I understand that. Create a file, yep, great sense. Create a module, yep. Create a namespace, sure. Create a function. Okay, so most of these are coming along fine. So they have just, you define all these different things, like for instance the scope of the function, all that lot. But we're starting to get down. We get create a lexical block. Okay, these all start making sense. The question is, okay, we got imported from whatever, these are all the different other things, other nonsense. Create debug location. Okay, so these are, you have to specify a scope for it as well. The line and the column. So the scope will be a nested scope anyway, so you have to have different things, and it's just usually with the file, I guess, just make it simpler. DI, and it actually will be the procedures, whatever scope. So these are, okay, it all makes sense so far, there's no problems. But the thing you want to actually get straight to at the moment is create builder subroutine type. Yeah, that's fine. Where was the thing? Here's the union type. So it's annoying. I have to create different types, even though LVM's like, oh, okay, fine, whatever. Array type, vector type, unspecified type. There'll be a lot of them. there just will be. Basic types. This is where things get really annoying. Pointer type, struct type, yeah. It tells me all the different things. Member type is a sort of static member. Member pointer type, Objective C, interface value, property value, pointer type, objective. So this is okay. Create inheritance stuff. Right. Build, create forward declaration. Create bit field member type. Okay, so all of these are fine. There's nothing wrong with the type stuff. The complicated stuff that does get in this. It's the thing I'm trying to think of is whereabouts is it? Okay. Create temporary global variable forward declaration. Insert before. Okay, this is where it starts getting bizarre. Create auto variable, parameter variable. So these are when you start create. Okay, auto variable. I'm not even sure what the auto variable is. Insert debug value at end, debug value before. So right. So is it auto variable that I require? Builder variable. So this is it. Is it auto variable that I want? This is if it's so, it's a badly named thing. Global variable expression. Parameter variable. Temp global variable forward or the API is not very well done, and I know it's the same in LVM C++, so it's not really any better. Oh, it's just a pain, just to put it bluntly. One thing I need to do is put this into the more social media places as well, so people can see what's happening on with this stream. Because who doesn't want this? But tonight's stream, I didn't want to work too much. I know you want debugging those, guys. I really have had a seriously long day. So if I go back to it like that, we can. I'm just going to put this in whatever. So we've gone back to this server now, and yeah. So today I just want to kind of just have a little discussion with people. Anyway, not really implementing stuff in Odin or with Odin or whatever. Just to relax and talk about the language itself. So, people, any of you got any questions that you would like questioning or answering or whatever? Wordsing, that's the correct word, wording. Right, so, because I was saying I was doing beer brewing earlier, and someone actually asked me if I've ever made mead. And I know it's a completely random topic. This is why the question mark thing. Q to get the... No, you don't have to do discussions. You can talk about any old nonsense. There's many different beers made with honey. I know that for definite. And the things that I'm thinking of with regards to honey in general is that honey itself is quite an interesting, like, kind of sugary thing. It's a bit of it's water, but most of it's like glucose, fructose, maltose, and many other sugars as well. A bit more complicated ones, but they can do that. But yeah, there's mead, if I can remember. So you can do mead. You can do the old Arabic style meads, which I know they don't ever like drink them anymore because usually the dry countries, like back in like I don't know 800 years ago they used to, in the Islamic world, because that's where the word alcohol comes from. Alcohol. Interesting. I know etymology is fun. But then there's always the Nordic ones. What they're called? Is it Mjord? Sorry, I'm going to probably. That's correct, right? And Mjord itself is like it's mostly mead, but with like usually it is like but usually they put a bit of other stuff in it, like usually like another malt to make it more malty. Yeah, and Yeah, that's correct. Thank you. And stuff. But the mead I've normally had in this country, in the UK, it's been more like a wine. It's not something you drink like beer. It's like you drink it like a wine because it's very sugary. It's got like a syrupy texture to it. But it's like a wine, like colour and viscosity and everything. So it's kind of a bit different in that regard. I know there's braggots. I've heard of them. I've never had them or tasted them. And braggots I know are they don't use hops. They use other things. So they'll use like honey again as a sweetener and a preservative. They'll also use like other spices like I guess cinnamon, pepper, ginger, stuff like that, and cloves. So yeah, Mjord is like a white wine too, of course. Yeah. This is the thing is. Yeah, so this is where I'm like, okay, honey beer makes the only honey. Well, I know you can have honey beers. Like I know there's like Left does one, the meal one, which is meal is French for honey. Who'd have knew that? But there we go. I'm just trying to think, and also using honey and other things is a nice flavour at least. But yeah, it's a very strong flavour. Which is probably why you wouldn't use it as a base sugar in beer. Well, that's why you use barley or something, don't you? The malt. But yeah. But if I was used honey, you'd probably only use about, if the total like grain bill, you'd probably only use about a quarter of it as honey. If you do it as a beer, at least. And I guess but it's a good question because I'm just thinking about how you deal with it. Yeah, so some of the songs only they hate beer, and I'm like I don't get the hype. But well, yeah, I don't like most beers either, to be honest with you. That sounds bizarre, and I like brewing. Yeah. It's a bit thing. Okay, so it's correction you're saying it's more like a base of honey, water, and yeast, of course. Yeah, you're gonna have water because you need that to liquefy. You can't just have pure honey. Bloody hell, that would just be, it'd be like honey. And then you got the spices. Yeah, you're gonna have the citrus fruits. I'm gonna guess it'd be like citric acid they'd use nowadays rather than just lemons. Citric acid is very useful for the chemistry involved with it. If I can remember exactly why citric acid is used, it's acidic and it will react with a lot of the other chemicals, if I remember. But use the citric acid is when you're boiling it mainly, or on mash. But yeah, I'm just thinking through because I'm just thinking about what to do for the next beer that I'm doing because I'm just starting a new set of like experiments. So I've done Californian Common, which is the steam beer. It's like pretty much a Californian Pilsner, a bit maltier and less strong hops than like a normal like Pilsner lager, but it's pretty good. It is bottom fermenting as well, yeast, but at a higher temperature. That's why they call it a steam beer, because like normal lager yeast is quite low temperature thing. I've never been a big fan of wheat beers. That's the problem. There's just not much taste to them. And I know you like wheat beers, I know it's fine, but it's not for me. I'm thinking it through. I know there's more like, I remember trying, like, a few months ago, it was a beer festival, and they actually had an old-fashioned recipe that they did, which was a lavender beer. So back in the like when beer was kind of first done, hops were not kind of discovered. Hops were only in like certain cultures, like especially like English like climate and stuff. And so they would have to use something else. For one, as the flavouring, and then two, as a preservative, because that's kind of the whole point of hop. A hop does two things. It's a preservative, so it gets rid of it's very acidic. It gets things, keeps them well, but it also adds its extra flavours. It is a flavouring. So you can. One of the things they used to do back in like the very early days of like I'm gonna say thousands of years ago, they would use like lavender, which or heather is another thing they would have used. But yeah, lavender was one that was very common. I tried it. It was very fragrant, but it did taste like beer. That was the thing. It was just, again, it's saying it was like a 3,000-year-old recipe. It wasn't. I could get used to it, but it wasn't something I was norm to. Yeah, post a link where I go. I don't really mind. I don't care. Yeah, the only beer that I can think of, again, it's the Mule Lef, which is quite nice. It has got a honey taste to it, but it's not overly powering. So it's just a kind of a blonde ale with a honey extra in it. That's all. Right, because I was just looking through. I've got loads of books in front of me on brewing and old recipes and stuff, and got a book on yeast with me. Someone else recommended it to me. It's a good book actually. Loads of different chemistry and stuff involved. It's the wrong time of year for it, but I have made a barley wine before. Oh, barley wine is amazing. Oh, that's good stuff. The only problem with barley wine is it's strong. Usually barley wines start at 7% ABV or Gay Lussac or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, that's strong. And I know some of the strong, really, really strong ones go up to about 10%. But barley wine are they're very. I know some people they're just used to drink barley wine, and then sometimes I think my granddad, paternal granddad, used to have a barley wine and put a whiskey in it as well to make it even stronger. It's like, what the? That's what people used to do back in the day. Yeah, I'm just thinking now. I could always do a mild. That'll be a different thing. You don't usually see milds anymore. Milds are kind of like a dark brown ale thing. They're usually about quite weak as well. Mild, like usually like 3%, so they're not strong at all, as the name suggests, and they're usually quite nice. But again, you don't see them anymore because they're not that popular anymore for that reason. Stuff like nowadays, it's really annoying me. Is American hops are really, really popular at the moment in the UK, and I don't hate all American hops. I just hate the Citra and the Mosaic. These are the ones where people say this tastes like grapefruit and stuff. One, I absolutely hate grapefruit. It's one of my fruits I actually hate. Just don't like the taste. But it's like, look, why would I want that stuff? It's just overpowering. It takes away it's like, ugh. It's just so popular, and I guess if you were going into that industry of beer brewing, you've got to do what the market wants, even if it's like, ugh, it's not very nice, is it? Ugh. And it's those very, again, citrusy hops. I hate them. I like the nutty hops, like the old, the very English ones actually, because they are nutty flavoured more than citrusy flavoured. It's all different, the acids in the hops that do it in different flavours. It's pretty interesting science. It says, hey, hobbies, you're doing science, man. Science. And it's science if you write it down, and I have been doing so. Hey, I'm being a scientist. So, hey, that's a top tip for kids. It's not messing around if you write it down. It's science. Yeah, I'm thinking I don't want to do any heavy beers, because speaking of, like you were saying, white wheat beers, the only reason I don't like them is because they've not got much flavour to them. That's my problem with wheat beers, is they're just very bland. It's like, that's about it. And, yeah, that's the main reason I just don't like wheat beers. They're just bland, that's it. But I was just thinking today, the pale ale that I've done, its main base is like Marisotta, but I also put a lot of flaked rice in it. And the reason why I did it, because I thought, I'll experiment. They're all experiments what I'm doing at the moment. And if any of them turn out well, I'll brew them again to see if I want to get consistent. Should be able to at least, and not just get it consistent, but not just try and get the same, but try and improve it ever so slightly and tweak until I get a really good one. But what's the word? Yeah, and so it's just generally all I've done is got 3 grains in there. I've got the Maris Otter, which is a normal base malt anyway in British ales in general. Then I've got the rice, and then what I got was a crystal malt. So the crystal malt is to give it extra maltiness into there, and a bit darker as well because it's got quite a high EBC, especially with the other ones. But it's still a pale ale, and then just using Fuggle hops, just a single hop. Just keep it simple. And again, I like the nutty flavours of those hops, but also I've used a bit more in there. Can I allow the chat to enable links? I need to find out if I can. How the heck do I do that? I don't know. So this is probably not, I shouldn't really call it, well, Odin stream is fine. It is technically Odin. No, but what is, I don't know how I do this. No, it looks like I cannot, unfortunately. Yeah, so I'm just adding some moderators while I'm here as well, because moderators help. But yes, there's also, if you want to post links and you can't do it in there, please just head over to the Discord for Odin, and you can just do it in there in the stream chat. So if you want to see what I'm talking about by that, just go to this. So what I go to the Odin website, which is odinlang.org, or even odinlang.com, but .org just is whatever. Go to the community, and then go onto the Odin Discord, and then you can go and get there and you can do whatever the heck you want. So it's just an easier way, and we can just bypass all of the nonsense that YouTube Live does. Okay, so there we go. We can just go back to that screen. I'm liking this new background. It's quite a nice background, if I'd say so myself. But yeah. But yeah, I'm looking at some of the recipes here for like wheat beers instead, but to me it's pretty much mostly like equal, like 4 pounds of like Pilsner, 4 pounds of wheat, pound of Munich malt, and maybe a pound of something else, like another malt, like a plain one, or a like whole rice or something like that. I don't know. But yeah, it's different. But there's different types of beers like that. And I like malty stuff, but I want something refreshing for this summer, especially today when it's been about 87 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm using Fahrenheit to make it sound hotter. It's a bigger number. But it's just this time of year, because one that I would like to do when it gets a bit closer to like autumn time is try and do a double, which is like a Trappist beer style. Like the Trappist monks, they do like a double, and it's quite a dark, rich beer, and it's quite a complicated beer as well, with different types of different things going into it. Like I remember, it's like got different malts, you've got different sugars, you've got, yeah, it's quite a complicated thing. And yeah. Yeah, by the way, the reason why I'm speaking in Imperial at the moment is just because all my old recipes, like these books, are probably like 50 years old. So all of them are, let's put it this way, old recipes. So they're all in Imperial. And some of them do actually have the metric translation, but the metric translation is wrong in a lot of them. That's the thing. But yeah, I'm just thinking of other things. I could always do like a brown ale. There's a difference. the only problem, if I was going to get brown ale, I'll have to probably purchase some, well, like a mild or a brown ale malt, just to do it. I've got the, and that should be good enough in my opinion. And especially for a brown ale, you wouldn't need much hops either. You'd keep it quite plain. But because it hasn't got many hops, I mean, it'd be a very malty thing. You'd probably need a longer maturation cycle as well, like time just to condition it for a long while until it's out any use. But I'm just thinking this through. Yeah, I'm just thinking this through. What do I do? Yeah, I'm just trying to think through. How long does it take to do a brew? So, in general, from start to finish, including cleaning, it's about 4 hours. You can always like clean it up. So what it is that you gotta clean it up. It usually takes about, clean your equipment to make it very sterile, which takes about half an hour usually to make it. Now I know how to do it properly. And you can cheat a lot, like stuff like that. You can then after that you got to put the water in. Well, first you also got to make sure you've measured out your grain and stuff, made your recipe everything's ready and stuff. Then you put the water in. I've got kind of all-in-one thing, just make it easier. Put the water into the kettle, into this kettle thing for the mash tun at least. Warm it up until it gets to temperature. When it gets to the right temperature, put the grain in and let it mash for a certain amount of time. And you mash at different temperatures as well to break down different sugars and proteins and stuff like that. So you just build up the temperature and it gets the different stuff out of it. Then once that mashing stage is out, you sparge it. So what this does is you lift out the grain from the liquid and you put more water on the top, very warm water, that's a particular temperature at least, and you sparge it by literally you're trying to get rid of all the extra sugars and proteins out of that grain as possible. And that's the way you're doing it. So then once it's all been sparged, you're then going to have to wait for the thing to get to boiling temperature. And then when it gets to boiling, that's when you usually start adding your hops and spices and other things. And then you do different stages of the boil as well for different things. Again, it's really kind of get complicated science. So then once the boil is done, you then chill it down. Somehow you can use immersion core or contraflow system. I use a contraflow system at the moment. I think I might just build my own immersion cooler instead. It's just easier and it'll be quicker because it cools the entire thing. And they're pretty simple to make anyway. It's just get some copper tubing, make it, and then just done. Put the water through it. It's cooled down. I know how a fridge works anyway. But then once you've done that, you decant it into a fermenter. Make sure it's at a decent temperature. Then pitch the yeast. Make sure the fermenter it's always clean as possible. Then you put the cork in. Make sure you got the water valve in the top so air can come out. Carbon dioxide can come out, but nothing can get in. It's partially the whole point of the valve. And then the general idea is then you clean everything else back up. So it's quite easy because once like a mash stage takes about 90 minutes. So once you put the machine on, it just does it automatically. I just have it programmed already for certain times. But the sparging I have to be there to do it manually. How far do I have to pitch the yeast? Like 30 yards? No. That just means put the yeast on top of the stuff. That's what pitching the yeast means. But yeah, it's not bad. So stuff like when it's boiling, you don't have to be there all the time. You just have to remember when the timing to put stuff in. That's all. So it's fine. It's quite, the general process is pretty much the exact same for every single beer, and it's not that complicated of a process, but for the most part, it's enjoyable. I enjoy the process of doing it. It is like cooking, in my opinion, or like a form of cooking. But there's different kind of experiments you're trying to do, and you're trying to, I've been trying to figure out things that I like and trying to see what I can do, especially with the experiments I've got at the moment. They've been in lockdown, and I've been able to get grain now, thank goodness. Because previously everything was shut down, you couldn't get anything, they only were only selling in bulk. It's like, if I wasn't going to buy a ton of grain, which pitches the yeast out? C sharp? No, it was actually, I would say it was at F half sharp, I think. Was it actually at? It was trying to be microtonal. It was just, it's a bit complicated they were being. I don't know why. Silly yeast. But the other thing was, I don't know, I'm thinking probably a brown ale would be good, but I'll use up what I've got left, and I've got a lot of normal Marisata. And I've also got some Vienna malt, actually, thinking about it, which... That's a good idea. Yeah, the breweries, the process isn't actually complicated at the end of the day. What you're trying to do is trying to get all the flavours out you can of the grain, and then you're trying to put other flavours and preservatives into it as you're doing it. It's not complicated. It's like breaking bread. It's like for any type of bread that you're doing, the process is pretty much the same. Like maybe if you're making pan de campagna bread, yeah, it'll take a few days to make sure to properly do it and stuff, but the process is the same, just it's different modifications to the same thing. You may use different yeast, you may use different flour, may use instead of water, you may use milk, or you may use instead of oil, use butter or lard. I much prefer lard in bread anyway, because it gives a much better texture, but then it's not vegetarian anymore, so if you're a vegetarian, oh whoops, can't have my bread. But even though lard is amazing stuff to cook with, lard, it's like the thing is, it's just pure fat, that's why, and it's like pure saturated fat, so it is just a brilliant thing to cook with. There's not really a vegetarian substitute, let's put it that way. Yeah, Pilsner isn't, I wouldn't say it's the hardest. The problem is it's not necessarily the hardest to brew. A true Pilsner it's not the brewing bit, it's the fermenting bit that's difficult, because it's a bottom fermenting yeast. And bottom fermenting yeasts are a pain, is the first thing. And usually with Pilsners and lagers in general, you have to do 2 fermentations bits. So you do your main fermentation tank, and then you decant it into another fermentation tank, because you need to make sure it's completely separate. So you have, and then you're going to put it into a into kegs, casks, bottles, whatever, barrels, whatever. So it's a little bit, yeah, it's not the hardest, it's just a pain. So yeah, that's the reason why many people do pale ales, because you don't need, usually the top fermenting pale ales are, they're also a single fermentation process. That's it. So that's why my California Common was lucky. It was a high temperature yeast rather than low temperature yeast, which like a lager or pilsner would be. Again, another problem. It's all the fermentation stuff. It was also only a single stage fermentation I was doing, which is I can get away with it. I am not wasting another fermentation vessel. I have 2, but I'm not using one just for that. It means that I can't brew for another few weeks. But yeah. I could try, I wouldn't do it yet, I could always do a bock. Actually, that wouldn't be a bad idea. like an amber bock. I know there's pale and dark ones, but why not an amber? That would. I'm thinking that through. That's not a bad idea. Yeah, sorry, I know I'm dotting round. I know this is not technically an Odin stream, but who cares? Odin drank beer, right? Just to say that. Odin was created because of actually rum, not beer, but close enough. But yeah, I'm thinking a bock wouldn't be a bad idea. Because I've got a lot of Vienna. I've got some Vienna malt left, but I haven't got that much Vienna malt because I'd probably need 12 pounds of the damn stuff. Sorry, 5.5 kilos for you metric folk. Sorry, I am bilingual in terms of units. When I say units, I can swap between any of them to make a difference for me. So yeah, so I've got loads of Marisota left, probably enough to probably do it. And then I could do it like an amber version of that to do it up with. Keep it so yeah, 2 malts will make it simple, and then don't do much. I'm trying to think this through. Maybe not. Maybe. I don't really want to do a Belgian beer at the moment, just because the ones I want to do are just, they're either too strong. I don't want to do like a 7% thing, or like a dark thing, and that just is too heavy this time of year. When it gets to like autumn, that'd be lovely. One option I could always do is actually, that's not a bad idea. Because one of the ideas that I could actually probably do is something very simple, like literally, I've done porters before. Yeah, I'm just saying, this porters this time of year is just I don't want to do. I'd rather do it closer to like ready for autumn, and then it'd be perfect. Hello. How you doing? Today is not really a programming stream. I'm talking about beer brewing. Yes, that's very different. I know. The many sides of Ginger Bill. I know. But because yeah, I could. One thing I'm thinking of like is a Welsh bitter. I've never actually tried one. And a Welsh bitter is pretty much one grain. It's like a Marisota and that's it, nothing else. And which sounds like that'd be a bit plain and biscuity, but then it's very hoppy. But yeah, that wouldn't be a bad idea. Thinking of, I'll experiment. I am not Irish whatsoever, by the way, and also where I live is a very, very big brewing history in like the places where I live in the Midlands, like a huge brewing industry. The Irish aren't that big brewers. Well, not really like to where I live. England's a very big place. I sure don't think I have any Irish heritage at all. I think most of my family is pretty much just Anglo-Saxon. That's it. Boring, I know. Not like I care, actually. I don't really care. But I was just one beer I remember doing. It was a nice little porter. It was actually a chili porter. I put jalapeno. No, it's not jalapenos. Not jalapenos. It was chipotle chilies in it, and it was absolutely lovely. It wasn't spicy at all. It was like an aftertaste. It was like a sharp aftertaste. Like, ooh, okay, that's nice. It was really lovely to drink. It was like a lovely porter. I like experimental stuff. But yeah, it was like the chipotle was a bit of a interesting thing. So when I got them, they were like really very dried up and black and everything. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, okay, these are. I just smelled them. Went, oh god, they're strong. So I was like, oh, chop them up, and it was like, oh, it was a bit chili porter. Oh, it was very. It was good. It wasn't spicy on the first. It was like the aftertaste. You had the. Oh, I can taste the chipotle flavor. It wasn't a spice. It was very bizarre. It's like the beer, like the alcohol in the beer, dulled the spice, which is what many people do. Only when they have a curry and a beer, it's usually the thing that you do. But I'm trying to think of other things. Like I've made chocolate oatmeal milk stouts before as well. They're pretty nice. One I'd love to try is make one that's as chocolatey as possible. But the ones that I've seen, which are like the one I've tried is the chocolatiest, which was it literally just tastes like drinking chocolate. That was the weirdest thing in the world. It has no actual chocolate in it. It's completely organic, and it just uses chocolate malt, which is a particular type of malt. And I was like, okay, it's Samuel Smith's organic chocolate stout. And it's absolutely wonderful stuff. Because I know some people will put like a cherry liqueur into it. So when they're drinking it, it's like drinking Black Forest Gatto. Because it does. It tastes, because it's very nice in that regard. But yeah. So I'm just looking through some of the old books I've got, recipe-wise. One of them I saw again was some wheat beer, wheat beer, as they say. Just wheat, oatmeal as well, which they put in oatmeal as porridge oats, pretty much. And some of the malt as well, just a pale one. And it'd be a very hazy colour, so they don't want it clearing at all. But I'm just thinking. There's one thing, someone gave me a few months ago, someone gave me some hops. And they said he's not used, they were complete vacuum packed and everything. But they're 9 years old. So I'm a bit like, if I'm going to use them, try something different. But they're going to be 9 years old is a bit out of date. 3 years, fine, something like it's a bit strong, out nearly there. But 9, whew, it'd be a very, what's the best way of putting it? Lambic, is the word? Yeah, lambic taste, which is quite particular taste to it. And yeah, I'm not sure how you would deal with that. Is lambic I'm thinking of? Is that the right word? But yeah, I probably shouldn't, but I should probably just chuck them out at this rate. Like, I'm just thinking of... Yeah, I'm just thinking of some stuff like, for instance, like the Welsh ales that I was thinking of earlier, which was just a general, all of it's just like a single malt, pale ale malt. And then maybe at the end they put like extra sugar in, like a molasses or honey and stuff. They give it a different flavour, because the molasses will give it a darker texture, while the honey will give it a sweeter one, like a more fragrant. And I know the music's just stopped now, so there you go. So someone was just saying when I just stop doing it, they can check out this. Oh, great! Thanks, the book. Also, I absolutely hate the new style of GitHub. It's like whoever thought this was a good idea should be shot. So let's just transition to this for the time being. And what we have here is Odin IO, and you've got Odin JVM. This is a JVM loader. Let's just zoom in for a little bit so you can see it better. And I'm like, okay. So yeah, fine. And fine. IO reader. Okay, I need to see what your IO thing is. IO file writer, and you've got a writer. Create file. Read file, whatever, I don't know. IO, so you got errors, different errors for your IO. Okay, you got a writer and a write for your writer. Write, and you got a reader. And then you get combine them together, you got a read writer. So yeah, you just got a normal vtable basic interface. Okay, fine. Multi-writer. What we got in here? So you got multiple writers in your writer. And your writer at the beginning here, if your multiple writer, is a different proc for it all, and you're going through them all and writing through them all. Okay, and a socket, and you probably want. Do you need? You don't need a multiple reader. Doesn't make much sense. And a socket writer and reader, and you got the sock. Yeah, this is not finished yet. Yeah, that seems interesting at least. And then you got read and pull. You've got the IO.read. You got specific things here like little endian types here. You'd probably want a whole bunch more than that. Yeah, like read type ID is probably. Where is that? Read type ID. Here's pretty much the size of the type. You read the buffer. Yeah, I wouldn't call it type ID. I'd say just read type. And it's a bit specific on here, and I wouldn't inline it either. This is probably not a good idea to inline, but I know what you mean. Looking through all your different things here. Okay. UTF-8. You read a UTC. What? Oh, that's the length. Ah, okay. So they're only allowing strings to be 16 bits long. Okay, so 16 bits length, proper max length. Okay. Weird, but whatever. I'm gonna read the methods. Do this. And hey presto, Bob's your uncle. Yeah, that looks fine to me, to be honest with you. Okay. A little crazy, to be honest with you, but... Hey-ho. One thing I'm just looking to do. No, I haven't seen your header trick yet for Odin Imgui. Should I... I can never remember what your thing is. Is it this? Drunk Dane? Yes, it is, and look at you. I just wasn't expecting it to be that big. Right, whereabouts is this header trick that you were talking about? Was it header.odin? Is this the trick that you were talking about? Doing this. And... I don't know what the trick is exactly. Oh, you compile time auto-generated the inline procs. Ah, interesting. I'll cancel that. I've accidentally pressed that. So we'll look at the generator. Your main, okay, you got your logging stuff. Yeah, by the way, I modified some of the logging stuff the other day, if you noticed. Only minor things. Just to get things working to be what I expect, if it makes any sense. Output enums, yeah, sure. And doing the JSON stuff, yeah. Yeah, what do you think to the actual changes to the logging system? Because Odin Lang, GitHub, because I just explained what people I did changed the logging system. So it's log here. And technically the actual changes are in core because they're part of the context. So they have to be part of the runtime itself. So where was the logging changes that I did? Here, so logging stuff. So I changed the logging levels. Yeah, it was only minor things I did differently. For instance, I made the debug, info, warning, and stuff. I made them like more like Python. So you had gaps between them. So if your user wanted to be a bit more specific about what the stuff is, yeah, you surely can. And I made it just normal enum type. Logger stuff here. I think I just reordered some of the stuff around. I put date, yeah, that's all I did. And that was fine. I think that was all I needed. And then in the log code, I did some minor changes as well. Again, that's the these are defined here. I just defined where they are. Cleaned it up a bit. I also fixed the time function. I found out what was wrong with my code. I was looking through it, seeing, okay, there's nothing wrong with my logic. Turns out there was something wrong. It wasn't technically a compiler bug per se. It's more like I don't handle big numbers correctly, is the short answer of it. So I don't support, I have integers and floats, and what I technically needed was rationals to do the calculations, and it just didn't work. So when it was always 800 seconds out, always. And it was like, why is it 800 seconds out? And it was like, oh, that's why, because it was actually just trailing off. So I just wrote in the number manually of what the calculated thing should be, and just like, look, here's how you calculate it, here's the right number, and look, time stuff .now was working correctly again. Yeah, I just did some minor things here. I also changed how stuff I also added panic and panic F, because they are useful things to have. So they're just fatal logs, and then you panic at the end of them. And remember, look, they are diverging procedures, so they return a big exclamation mark that says, nope, this doesn't return. Nope, 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 not. It means not. And then you got normal log and log F here, whatever. Yeah, it's nothing special in there. The file log, I think I just minor changes here, like for instance, the level headers here, just fixed it so it was the right thing. You might have asked, oh, why didn't you do an enum string, enum array, enumerated array, that's the best word. And I thought, no, because it's not the better way of doing things. And I think here the problem is I still need to have a case afterwards, which is like unknown, question mark, or whatever. Everything else was fine. I think I did some minor changes here. Yeah, this backing thing is probably okay for the time being. Yeah, that was okay. I did need to check. This I modified as well. I modified some of the stuff in the ordering. It's fine. I always sounds laughed when I was using the logging system. I accidentally created my own logging like multi-logger. Didn't realize it existed. That sounds silly. I should just look, and it's like I looked at the code and went, it looks pretty much exactly what I wrote. That was lucky. I didn't write this as it was at all, but it was like, oh, the code I actually wrote was pretty much identical. So it's like, okay, cool. It's just coincidence, like, hey, there's just pretty much only one way to skin a cat. So, yeah, pretty much it. There was some other things I was working on. This, not in thread, it's in sync. I will probably chuck it out because it's just an experiment. I was adding, like, channels. So these aren't technically Go-like because the way I've got them is they are the way I've got it in this case, I was experimenting, trying to get them changed the behavior and stuff, but the buffered and unbuffered in the moment they have the same semantics as being buffered. And I know in Go, an unbuffered thing will always need to be synchronized, so it'll wait until, like, if you send it to write to it, you'll have to wait till it's been read and it'll just stop. While a buffered thing, it's fine. It won't block. It won't be. It doesn't have to be synchronized. It's asynchronous. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of it. I just want to look. Clearly, it's only like 250 lines of code, really, if that. And it was just something I was experimenting with. I was having fun, and this is a hack. It's just to make Vet happy. It's unfortunately not solvable. I'll explain why. It's because these are parametric polymorphic functions. So within them, if I don't use any of these functions, whatever these procedures whatsoever, like for instance, there's a time and a rand thing here. If I don't use them, it'll just go crazy at me, and I'm like, okay, I'll enforce the use of it. It's just one of those. If that makes any sense. I may have to do that for this entire thing. Like, it's a pain in the arse. Vet is a bit dumb at times. It's saying, hey, this import hasn't been used, and it's like, yeah, it has, but you don't know because you haven't generated the code to know it yet. So, Vet needs a lot of improvements. It was just something hacky, but in general, yeah, I'm not trying to enforce a certain style of things. So you want to convert this to Odin. Right, so I've actually written the code already for... So there are specific... This bit of code here needs to be an Odin, you say. Well, if I am 32, you just write... Actually, that's valid Odin code already. Technically. Just a bit verbose. Yeah, that's valid Odin. Yeah? It's a bit long, but valid Odin, yeah, nonetheless. In a default parameter, that's technically valid, yeah, it's just a bit stupid. The way I'd recommend rewriting that is for this, as a default parameter, I rewrite that as, so 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. And then the other one, I'd rewrite that as OFF, FFF, 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 and just do that. And if you need it to be typed, because it might be already typed in general, but if you want it to be that way, that will do it. But yeah, those are technically valid Odin, it's just they're stupidly long. Yeah, hopefully that's answered your question. Because this would be RGBA or ARGB. I'm not sure which way it would be ordering. I don't know. Yeah, I've written imgoing pass myself or in Python. I should probably publicize it just for work, but like the actual stuff's a bit dodgy. But yeah, so the channel stuff, it was an experiment again. Not going to probably keep it or anything like that. But if people want to improve the code, they can. I'm not that bothered. But especially to get the proper Go-like behavior with channels. Now, I know channels aren't that fast. That's the whole point of them. And you can do things in better ways and much faster ways, but I don't mind the Go approach, because if people want that approach, there's no reason why you need to resort to anything complicated. It's this is probably why some people have asked me before, like, hey, does your language have like parallelism or concurrency or multi-threading built into the language? And it's like, the answer is no. And the real, because it's like, one, because I don't want to settle on one form, because I don't even like one form half the time. Like, I sometimes want to swap and change and do different things. But then the second reason is because, well, plainly put, like, different problems have different things, and also I don't want to force it in the language, because then you've got loads of constructs. For instance, this channel construct, technically, it would have to require that the language runtime has a concept of a mutex and a condition variable built in. We already have a dynamic array, fine, and we have an allocator. There's no problem. Those two things, in fact, the allocator is probably shared by the dynamic array anyway, because what's the word for it? Yeah, they probably, because it's already got a dynamic locator in there. I just want to make it a bit clearer. That's all. Don't mind wasting a bit of memory. Just 2 words. But so in general, there's nothing there. It's just this means the runtime would now have to have mutex and condition support built in. And it's like, they think, what about the make things? I'm like, yeah, but they're not actually part of the thing. Like the actual data type itself is like stupid. But yeah, everything else like the read and write. And I don't know, it is a bit complicated. That's the best way of putting it. What was I saying? Yeah, I'm sorry, a bit tired anyway. I'll probably just go to bed in a minute. Sorry, it's a short stream tonight. Just a long day. Long day. But in general, I'm trying to think of the best way of putting this. I know what my bug is. I think I know what my bug is now, and I think it might not fix it, but I think it's because I've got a lock somewhere. I'll explain what I was doing, so that I'll only stay on here for the next, like, I'm not joking. Yeah, let's get rid of that crap. Next 10 minutes, and then it'll be done. I am that literally shattered. So, this was my threading example. And I was going through it a lot and running it 1,000 times because then it was hitting a bug. And what I have to be very, very careful while doing this is I have to kill it. Now, it'll kill itself. I've had a kill switch in here already after 2 seconds if it does fail. But, so I don't need to actually manually kill it in this case. So build this, make it build the stuff, whatever. Okay, so it's built. Let's call this threading. It's just an example at the moment. LLVM API. It's running, and then we get a runtime assertion. So the bug that I have, and I've probably just got the logic wrong, is it's usually. I think I know why I've got the logic wrong. Thinking about it now. I need a read and write mutex. Oops, sorry, R mutex, and they're both mutexes. Mutexes? Yeah, whatever. So, R mutex, write mutex. So I'm going to change those specific ones there. So then the main block is not a problem. But theoretically, you could have the same mutex on the read and write with the... Yeah, that makes more sense thinking about it. Like the channel close, you want to... No, I think I was right here. This won't fix it, by the way. I don't think this will fix it. Like it's completely locked itself now. And the main reason for that is it will run now, but it's going to crash. And it's because I'm locking here. If I put the read mutex in here, and then for my write, I put the write mutex as a lock. I may need 2 mutaces. Yeah, it's going to crash. That's fine. I think what I need here is a normal mutex. And I defer the normal mutex. And then here, do that. No, I've got it freezing on the right. And I know what the problem here is. It usually gets stuck on the wait for. And it's waiting for a signal to happen, which will never happen. And it's because within here and here, it's like, I can't think of a way. I hate concurrency. I know this is just annoying. Like once this, if I got this working, like if I got it working, then a lot of things are a lot simpler, is what I'm saying. Yeah, but in both cases here, the read and write got stuck. For instance, the write, I know it probably gets stuck on the wait for as well, or it gets stuck on the wait for here, and that's fine. But I don't think my initial thing was actually right. I don't think I need 2 mutexes. Like, I'll keep them in there for the time being, but yeah. So if I go to buffered, like if I just made this buffered, by the way, I went to say, okay, we got 1 in there. It's no problem. It runs. It's no, it says failure, but no, it actually is complete. It's success. Like it ran to the end. There's no crash. But just to prove there's no crash, let's get rid of the sleep. Done. No error. And yeah. And it's all concurrent because, like, you can see if I get rid of the debug stuff that I wrote here, like that, you'll see on some of them, and there was one that got the other opposite way around. Yeah, so some of them, they come in different orders, so clearly it is concurrent, it's just, it's not deterministic. But the general idea I'm doing here is just very, like, dumb. Just a bunch of... Just do this. And, yeah, and it will just, I think the longer it is, it'll probably... No, yeah, there's some... There were some swapping orders in there. But yeah, the different data is just whatever. This is not probably the cleanest code in the world, but hey-ho. But the reason, again, it was just an experiment. I don't really want to do Go-style concurrency, like CSP style. Like if I, let's just get the tour of Go, concurrency, here we go. And look, it's explaining how channels work. And this is where I literally just copied the exact same thing from. And the only reason I copied it is just like, okay, this is how this thing works. Let's try and get it to work. Simply put. And, yeah. But the thing is, it's this syntax. I always find it a bit weird with the back arrow. I use that thing for context ages ago, but I changed it just to not the clearest thing in the world. But yeah, this is it does always look a bit weird when I'm reading Go code and it does that. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh yeah, that's what it does. So this is writing some to this channel. It's sending it, and this one is receiving from the channel or reading from it. I prefer the read and write rather than send and receive. Send and receive is just confusing. Read and write makes a hell of a lot more sense. I'm writing to this channel. I'm reading from this channel. Waiting to read or waiting to write. And yeah, so they're explaining here. And this would be an unbuffered thing here. And then it's saying buffer channels. The difference is send to a buffer channel will only block when it is full. Receives block when buffer is empty. And it'll only block when it's full. And which does beg the question, seriously, when it's full, yeah, so that's where the difference between the buffer thing is, because you're going to, I know what the difference is, yeah. So it's going to, so if I did channel 3, it'll just say, I'm sorry, but they're all asleep. Yeah? Because then I could go. I could do that at the top, run again, and then I got a deadlock. So go, run again. They're asleep, apparently. What? I don't remember how Go works. Do I have to write 3 in there? There is a deadlock, apparently, on 7. It's because it's empty, but it's because it's a... Yeah, it's because they're running before that. So if I do, yeah, let's just do that. Because that'll cause a deadlock until I tell 1. Yeah? Now if I close that channel, then it will do it as well. Oops, shouldn't do the go bit, but let's do that. Yeah, and it'll just do that for us, and then you didn't need to do anything more. You cannot write to it anymore. You can just read from it, and it'll be pop, 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 pop. So if I did 4, do that. So you could go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4. I'm going to do 5, and it's going to say deadlock. Yep. And then it's fine, yeah. Run. There we go. So that's fine. I can remember the semantics. And I think in the next one it says, look, close. And you just got the same thing. You've got the optional OK stuff, which I like optional OK stuff. It's a nice thing in Go. That's why I got it in Odin. Certain semantics is quite nice to have. OK is false if there are no more values truth and the channel is false, not all the channel is false. Okay. I'm just looking through, I'm just tired, but then you've got the select statement, which is necessary to multiple different things. It's effectively just a switch statement with random case statements if any of them, multiple of them are true. It's a bit weird, but it works. It's now telling me, please write a thing to do this and do that and then that and that and that. I'm like, no thanks. Make a web crawler. Look, finish this off. Oh, oofed. If I ran that. We need to fetch them in parallel? Well, there's only one way of doing that. Because all you're doing here is you go crawl and you're recursively going. But pretty much all you're doing is you could well, you can make it concurrent, you have a big channel. But the thing is, I don't think that's faster. Like, you can even test it, like the way I would normally do it. All these like fibers in Go, kind of, yeah. The communication between things is you're sharing data through communicating through sharing data. That's what it's saying. And well, share. I can never get them right way around. Share by communicating. That's it. And you do it through channels, and that's the way that it can go. And I mean, channels are a not bad idea, like mathematically speaking. It's just, for me, what you want most of the time, which will even be faster, is you want a way of adding things to a queue concurrently and then popping things off the queue, which is what a channel is. But it's like it's a different way of looking at it. So yeah, I'm going to go to sleep as well now in a minute. It's just too much for me. Yeah, that's fine by me. But yeah, I'm probably a little bit done here. So, speaking of which, good night everybody. And I hope you all have a wonderful night.